Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. My name is Gary Smith. I'm the Chief Executive of the Gary Smith Partnership. In this webinar we're going to talk about the use of Salesforce dashboards and charts and some of the underlying reports that are used for effective pipeline management. Obviously in any organisation, charts such as this one over on the left hand side that tell us what we have won. So management information on what we have won is crucially important. But a lot of the management attention, a lot of the effort, a lot of the emotional energy is focused around the pipeline. So I want to know what you have won, but I really want to know what you are going to win and what you are going to sell in the forthcoming month or quarter or whatever it might be. So we're going to do three things really. The first is we're going to look at some charts and reports that tell us about the size of the pipeline. Secondly, we look at some dashboard charts that tell us about the trend in the size of the pipeline. So is the pipeline getting bigger or smaller? And thirdly, we look at some quite powerful charts that tell us about the quality of deals in the pipeline, because size isn't everything. We want to know about the quality of deals as well. So a good place to start is with this chart that's in the middle of the screen here. This tells us the value of deals by close date, and of course by value, that's driven by the amount field, but it also tells us what's in the pipeline by stage. So those deals that are due to close in March, what stage are they in the sales process? And I can see I seem to have a pretty healthy looking pipeline there. I might be concerned about the fact that I've got no prospecting deals in May, and the fact that June seems to be a bit lower than perhaps some of the other months. I don't know if I should be concerned about that. Might want to drill into the report and have a look at some of that. I can also see that I've got quite a bit of business due to close in February. Now, as I'm speaking, we have 2-3 working days left in February, and I really want to go in there and have a look at some of those deals and say, well, are they really going to close? So which deals should I be focused on that are due to close in February? We can go into that report. Let's just drill down on that. Open up the report a little bit. So there's my deals that are due to close in February, all of my negotiation deals, and these are the ones that are due to close in February. And of course, like any other report, I can then just pivot it a little bit and say, well, actually, tell me about these deals by opportunity owner, for example. So now it's exactly the same piece of data, but we're looking at it by opportunity owner. If I wanted to, I could hide the details and just looking at it exactly the same way. So these are all negotiation deals, and this tells me by owner. I might say, well, actually, Sachin, let's have a look at your deals. Let's just expand the report again. So in fact, it's only one deal that's contributing £47,000 into my February figures. Just quickly go back to the dashboard. You'll also see that, well, I've got some deals that are due to close in February that are in the investigation stage, and now again, given the fact that there's only a couple of working days left, I'd want to go into those deals, I think, and say, well, are we sure that those deals, what do we need to do to bring those deals to fruition, or indeed should some of them be further down the pipeline? I can also incidentally see that I've got some deals that are in the negotiation stage but which are due to close in May. Now, is it really going to take us 3 months to bring those deals to fruition? Maybe it is, but alternatively, is there something that we could do to bring those deals to the table earlier, or indeed are they actually in negotiation? So perhaps they should be in a different stage, or perhaps earlier in the process. So again, quite a lot of information that we can glean just from that one report. The chart alongside it is exactly the same set of data, but just presented and just cut a different way. So this is showing us the pipeline by stage, and this is showing us the pipeline by opportunity owner. So very often heads of sales, VP of sales will use these two charts in conjunction with each other to start to understand what the pipeline looks like, what the total size of the pipeline is, what stage it's at, and who owns it, and so on. And of course we can drill down that and have a look at more information. Just one thing about this particular report, this is a matrix report that you're looking at here. Very often people will configure these sort of charts as a summary report. Let me just go in and I'll just change that to a summary report. So let's just change that and rerun the report. So that's exactly the same set of data, but now configured as a summary report. And you can obviously see there that it's harder to get the key information that we want, and much easier on the eye if it's a matrix report. The other thing just about the way that Salesforce by default presents the underlying information when you click on a dashboard. By default, if you've got a chart in the report, it puts the chart above the report. Now that means that when I first arrive at this page, I actually don't see the report, I see the chart. Well, I've just come from a dashboard, I've just clicked on a chart, I probably now want to see the underlying information in the report. So I think it's good practice just to format the chart. Go to the formatting section. There's the button that allows you to put the chart below the report, not above it. By default, as I say, it's set to above. You can see here that we've enabled the hover. You saw me clicking on the hovering over the chart and figures coming up. And also, by default, the legend position, the key, is over on the right hand side, which, as you can see, squashes up the chart a little bit. So I again think it's good practice just to put the legend at the bottom like that. So that's probably the two starting points. There's two most basic charts that we need to understand the size of the pipeline and where we need to focus our attention. Let's just have a look at this report underneath. This is a traditional funnel chart. And very often, in fact, when people first start to create a dashboard looking at the pipeline, this is the first report that they'll create, and I guess in part that's because it is a traditional funnel chart. My view is it's the sort of thing that's useful to look at occasionally. I think on a day-to-day basis, these are very much the sort of charts that we should be using to manage the pipeline on a day-to-day basis. I think this is the sort of thing that's interesting to look at sort of once a week. The challenge with it is that as deals ebb and flow through the sales process, it's actually quite difficult. The chart itself always remains the same shape, so it's quite difficult to see the trend and so on. Although the reason I say it's quite useful to look at occasionally is just as I look at that, in fact, I can see that I've got £270,000 worth of deals in the investigation stage, and I've also got 275,000 in prospecting. So these figures are pretty much the same, and that might alert me to the fact that I need to do more work to get some early stage deals into the sales pipeline. So do I need to do more lead generation? Is it more marketing campaigns I need? In fact, when we looked at the chart above it, we already said that the deals in May, there's no prospecting deals in May. So is that an area that I need to focus on and do some work? The other sort of chart is a table, in fact, that I think is very useful for understanding the size of the pipeline. Is this one here. We've presented this as a table in this dashboard. This tells me which accounts have the most value in terms of open pipeline deals. Well, of course, these might be a combination of customers and prospect accounts, but very often when you look at this, you'll find out that one or two accounts are head and shoulders above the others. We can see here the different value of deals associated with these accounts. This 80k doesn't, of course, tell me that there's only one opportunity worth 80k. It might be half a dozen opportunities, but it tells me that that's the account with the biggest value of open deals. And if we just go down to the underlying report, then we can see that same information. We've put a bit of conditional highlighting on there just to make it easier on the eye to find the different numbers and so on. And in fact, we can see that Umbro, that 80k, well, actually it's split up with some deals that are due to close in July and some deals that are due to close in April as well. So that's a very good starting point for creating the management information that you need to manage the sales team effectively and manage the pipeline effectively. This is part 1 of the webinar recording. If you go to part 2, then we will start to talk about some of the charts that we can use to measure the trend in the size of the pipeline.